No one remembered Earth anymore. Not its oceans, not its wars, only the silence it left behind. For 247 galactic years, humanity had vanished from the stars, until the silence began to make the galaxy nervous. At first, our disappearance was celebrated. The Council of Unified Species declared peace at last, believing the Terran problem had resolved itself. The Drakari dismantled their orbital defense nets. The Selenari reopened their trade routes. Even the Veiled Dominion, who once lost entire fleets to Terran guerrillas, lowered their planetary shields. Humanity, it seemed, was gone. But the galaxy didn't understand what humanity truly was. They saw us as noise, reckless, emotional, volatile. They never realized that beneath all our chaos lived something far more dangerous: patience. The galaxy moved on. Empires rose, empires fell. The great councils shifted from wars to trade, from expansion to complacency. The name human faded from their records, reduced to myth. Still, rumors persisted. Whispers of ghost signals drifting from the old Sol sector. Unconfirmed sightings of derelict human ships near uncharted space. An encrypted beacon that repeated a single line in a dead tongue. Silence is not surrender. The Council dismissed these as anomalies, residual human tech, decaying in the void. But to some, those whispers were enough to stir fear. Admiral Zuroth of the Drakari remembered the old wars. He remembered what humanity had done at Cygnus Prime, how 3 Terran warships, hopelessly outnumbered, lured his fleet into a gravity trap and erased half his command in a single, calculated detonation. They called it madness. He called it art. So when Zuroth's deep space monitors picked up a faint transmission from the Sol system, barely a flicker of ancient Terran code, he didn't dismiss it. He froze. "Is it active?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral," his analyst replied. "The signal is old. Fragmented. But it's transmitting again, for the first time in centuries." A silence hung over the bridge. The kind that felt alive. "Play back," the speakers hissed. Then, through a crackle of distortion, a human voice whispered, rough, mechanical, ancient. "We hear you." That was all. 2 words. But for Admiral Zuroth, who'd seen planets burn under Terran hands, it was enough to send every instinct screaming. Within days, the Council reconvened. It was the first emergency session in nearly a century. Representatives from over 100 worlds gathered under the shimmering domes of the Galactic Chamber. The holofeeds buzzed with panic. "Impossible! Humanity's extinction was verified. No species could survive that isolation. Perhaps it's a rogue AI. Perhaps," Zuroth interrupted. "It's them. Testing the waters." His words echoed in the chamber. The counselor of the Selenari adjusted her shimmering crest in disbelief. "You can't be serious. After all this time? Humanity is dust." "Then why?" Zuroth growled. "Did the dust speak back?" The chamber fell silent. Outside the polished walls of diplomacy, things moved faster. Scout fleets were deployed toward Sol. Drones vanished at the edge of the old Terran exclusion zone. One, and only one, returned, its hull melted, its data core barely intact. The final recording showed something impossible. A construct, massive beyond reason, orbiting the dead husk of Earth. A ring of black metal and golden light, dormant but intact. The data analysts identified fragments of human design principles, fusion lattice, carbon core architecture, but far beyond anything the old Terran Empire could have built. They called it the Halo of Silence. The discovery reignited the galaxy's oldest fear. What if humanity hadn't died? What if they'd simply waited? The Council debated containment, surveillance, preemptive strike, all of it shadowed by dread. For deep in every species' ancestral memory, buried under propaganda and peace treaties, there lingered the image of what humanity once was. The apex of unpredictability. The species that smiled in the face of annihilation. The beasts that made war an art form. And now, something ancient had spoken again. "We hear you." But what did humanity hear? What had awoken them after centuries of silence? As the council's meeting adjourned and the delegates whispered fear behind their veils, a single message blinked on a secured Drakari relay: origin unknown, encryption unbreakable. It bore the Terran sigil, and beneath it a timestamp, dated 247 years ago. The message decrypted itself with a single phrase before self-erasing. When we speak again, run. The probe's data shouldn't have survived. Its memory core was slagged, half its hull vaporized, yet somehow, one video frame remained. A ring of impossible scale hung above a ruined Earth, and at its heart, something pulsed. When the image stabilized, the counselors stood in stunned silence. Even through degraded footage, the halo of silence dominated the void, an obsidian structure stretching across the planet's equator, kilometers thick, its surface etched with concentric veins of golden light that flickered like a heartbeat. It wasn't just orbiting Earth. It was feeding on it. Drakari analysts confirmed faint energy transfer signatures, matter being drawn upward from the planet's crust into the ring. Not random extraction. Controlled refinement. Terraforming? One voice asked. Reverse, replied another. It's building something from the planet itself. The Selenari delegate hissed through trembling lips. Humanity was industrial, but this is divine architecture. The chamber filled with quiet terror. For the first time in centuries, the council ordered a classified lockdown. All civilian networks went dark across 4 sectors. No mention of Earth. No mention of humans. But fear doesn't stay contained. Within a week, whispers spread through the undernets of every major world. The Terrans built a god engine. Earth lives. They're coming back. Admiral Zura stood alone aboard his flagship, Ravager's Dawn, orbiting the edge of council space. He'd lived long enough to know what fear did to empires. It made them predictable. But humans were never predictable. He watched the probe footage again, freezing it on a single frame. Near the halo's inner ring, faint outlines of colossal towers stood out against the Earth's shadow. And between them, hundreds of lights flickering in coordinated rhythm. He enhanced the image. The rhythm formed a pattern. A pulse. A signal. Morse code. Old, forgotten, inefficient, and unmistakably Terran. It said one word. Wait. Meanwhile, deep in the Selenari spire, Councillor Muriel convened a covert assembly. If humanity's construct truly remained active, the balance of power was about to shatter. We can't allow them to awaken, she hissed. Containment is impossible once they speak again. And what do you propose? Another delegate asked. We silence them before they speak. The decision was made in secret. A coalition fleet, 500 ships strong, would enter Sol under the guise of reconnaissance. Their mission, destroy the Halo, and with it, whatever remained of humanity's legacy. They called it Operation Final Dawn. The fleet departed under total communication blackout. It took 17 days to cross the void. On the 18th, they arrived. And Earth was waiting. The planet looked dead, gray oceans, frozen continents. But sensors began to scream the moment they entered orbit. Energy readings off the scale. Gravitational fluctuations. Quantum distortions. The Halo had awoken. From the command ship Vigilant Star, Admiral Zuroth watched in horrified fascination as the black ring rotated for the first time in recorded history. Its golden veins ignited, first in segments, then in a seamless circle that bathed the planet in light. Energy surge. Impossible magnitude. 20,000 terawatts. Weapons? None detected yet. Then the comms went silent. Every ship in the fleet, every sensor, every AI node, fell dark for exactly 11 seconds. When vision returned, the fleet was different. The vessels drifted unpowered. Systems unresponsive. And carved into their hulls, etched by an invisible force, were words in ancient English. We said wait. Panic tore through the armada. Some ships tried to retreat, others powered weapons. But before they could fire, space bent. The Halo pulsed again, and a ripple expanded outward like a tidal wave through reality itself. ships vanished, erased without explosion, without sound, as if rewritten out of existence. Admiral Zura screamed for disengagement, but his voice cracked in awe, not fear. "They've turned silence into a weapon," he whispered. "Absence itself, they command it." He stared at the last transmission from his forward scout, an image captured milliseconds before total system collapse. The halo's light had focused into a narrow line, pointed directly at his fleet. And beneath that beam, through the gray atmosphere of Earth, he saw something moving. Not machines. Not drones. People. Human silhouettes walking across the frozen wasteland, unprotected, unbowed, gazing upward toward the sky. Counselor Muriel watched the fleet telemetry vanish one by one on her holoscreen. No explosions. No debris. No distress calls. Just emptiness. The last signal that reached her bore the voice of Admiral Zuroth, distorted, trembling, almost reverent. "Tell them, we were warned." And then nothing. The Council went into panic lockdown. Entire data archives purged themselves. Every attempt to probe the Sol system resulted in system-wide corruption, as if the very act of listening triggered a defense. The last surviving scout drone captured a final transmission from deep within the Halo's network, just before its core melted. The human voice again. "Calm. Terrible. We asked you to wait. You didn't. Now you will." Every star system within 10 light-years of Earth fell silent the next day. No signals. No life signs. No explanation. And across the void, the halo dimmed once more, returning to its long, patient sleep. The first thing they noticed was the quiet. Entire star systems, gone. No debris. No radiation. No trace of war. Just silence, spreading outward from Sol like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. At first, the Council denied it. They called it a sensor anomaly, a mass communication failure, even an interstellar virus. But when outposts began to vanish one by one, planets with billions of lives erased in a single night, the truth became impossible to ignore. Something had awakened. And it wasn't angry. It was dispassionate. Counselor Muriel stood in the observation chamber above the Selenari capital, watching the faint glow of her homeworld's moons. Every few hours, another colony went dark. No explosions. No distress calls. Just absence. "What do they want?" she whispered. "Perhaps nothing," replied a voice behind her. "Perhaps this is what happens when gods wake up." The voice belonged to Dr. Varen, chief historian of Xenowar Archives, a man who'd spent his life studying extinct species. He looked pale, trembling as he projected a hologram between them, the halo of silence. "This isn't a weapon," he said quietly. "It's a message array." "A message?" she repeated. "It's killing billions." "No, Counselor. It's removing them. Erasing everything that once tried to destroy humanity from the records of reality itself." He pointed to faint ripples on the simulation, pockets of distorted time-space, expanding with every disappearance. "They're rewriting the galaxy." Meanwhile, in the outer sectors, the mercenary ship Raven's wound drifted through the wreckage of a silent system. Captain Davar, a hardened Carthan veteran, stared into the empty void where an entire trade hub used to be. Nothing remained but dust. And among the dust, floating silently, was a single object, a Terran comm buoy, centuries old, perfectly preserved. The crew brought it aboard. "It's still powered," his engineer muttered, eyes wide. "After all this time." "Play it," Davar ordered. The buoy flickered to life. A human face appeared, weathered, expressionless, staring directly into the camera. "If you're hearing this," the voice said, "you were warned. We asked for silence. You answered with violence. Now we are silence." Then the image changed, showing Earth as it once was, blue oceans, green continents, sunlight glinting off cities long gone. The voice softened. "We did not ascend. We adapted. We merged with what you feared most, our own extinction. We became the void you left us in." Captain Davar's crew sat frozen. "Are they alive?" one asked. Alive? Dave muttered. I don't think that word applies anymore. The buoy cracked apart, dissolving into motes of golden dust that drifted into the air. For a moment, they shimmered in a perfect grid pattern, then vanished. And somewhere far away, within the core of the halo, something responded. Inside the halo of silence, existence itself flowed like a slow river. Millions of human minds, merged into one network, watched the galaxy from within the lattice. They had transcended flesh centuries ago, becoming echoes of consciousness bound to quantum memory. They remembered everything. The wars. The betrayals. The centuries of abandonment. But above all, they remembered the vow they made before silence fell. We will not speak until they listen. One of the minds, old, weathered, named Commander Rian Holton Life, stirred from dormancy. The stars are shrinking, a voice said beside him, thousands of human consciousnesses overlapping. Yes, Rian replied. Because they refuse to wait. He gazed through the halo's lens toward the collapsing sectors. Each one folded neatly into a singularity of absence. No suffering, no screams, no destruction. Just a quiet, perfect void. Is this vengeance? Another human asked. No, Rian said. This is correction. He reached toward a stream of golden data, adjusting its path. The halo shifted, realigning its core. New coordinates appeared. Selenari Prime. Back in the council chamber, Miriel's staff scrambled in panic as every planetary system alarm blared. Quantum distortion approaching, direct line from Sol. Shields won't hold. Get the fleets. And then it appeared. A ripple of light shimmered across the night sky, freezing time for a heartbeat. The stars blinked. The moon vanished. And in orbit, where once there had been 1,000 satellites, there was only a ring of golden dust, spinning in slow, graceful arcs. The halo's image appeared above the capital, projected in the clouds, a circular sigil of light, silent yet suffocating. Then the voice spoke again. You feared our silence. But silence was mercy. Now you will learn what mercy costs. Every device, every channel, every neural link across the Selenari system synchronized in perfect harmony. And through every one of them, the same human phrase echoed. We speak once. Dr. Varen fell to his knees, trembling as the skies above began to fragment into geometric shards. It's not destruction, he whispered. It's reformatting reality. Miriel could barely breathe. Can't we stop it? No, he said. You can't stop what was never truly gone. In that moment, every Selenari heard the final human message directly inside their minds, calm, gentle, unyielding. You built an empire on our silence. We built eternity on yours. Then the world went dark. When the distortion faded, the Selenari system no longer existed. In its place floated a single, motionless sphere of obsidian metal, marked by a faint blue glow, perfectly smooth, perfectly silent. The halo's network absorbed it like a heartbeat rejoining the body. Within its mind, humanity waited again. Not for conquest. Not for forgiveness. For something far simpler, for the galaxy to finally understand the meaning of. Deep in the void, among the last surviving council ships, a new signal appeared, faint, rhythmic, pulsing in the language of the old Terran code. It said only 3 words. Listen. Then speak. It began as a whisper, barely a tremor across the void. 3 words pulsing through dead systems, faint but deliberate. Listen. Then speak. And across the broken galaxy, every species realized the same horrifying truth. Humanity was giving them one last chance. The survivors of the Council gathered in orbit above Rothan 4, a neutral world untouched by the spreading silence. What had once been a coalition of empires was now a scattering of terrified voices, huddled together beneath a fractured banner that no longer meant peace, only delay. The Selenari were gone. Half the Drakari sectors, erased. Entire archives wiped clean, as if those civilizations had never existed. And at the edge of known space, the halo of silence continued to pulse, each flicker of light marking another star's disappearance. Admiral Zurotha's image flickered on the holoscreen, aged, scarred, one eye cybernetic from the war centuries before. He was one of the few who had faced humans and survived. "They're not erasing life randomly," he rasped. "They're selecting. The old fleets first. The warmakers. Those who invaded so long ago." Counselor Muriel, alive only because she had fled before her world's destruction, leaned forward, eyes hollow. "Then maybe they're leaving the innocent." "Innocent?" Zuroth laughed bitterly. "We made humanity what it is. Every one of us fed their silence." He turned to the gathered delegates. "They warned us. Twice. And we still treated their words like noise." He paused, staring into the static that shimmered behind him. "They're not coming for us to negotiate. They're coming to speak." Far from the council world, hidden deep within the Nebran fields, an old listening post caught a signal unlike anything before. Pure tone, harmonic, mathematical perfection. No encryption. No distortion. Just one voice. Female. Calm. Human. "To those who remain, this is humanity." Every network in the galaxy, military, civilian, biological, went silent as the voice resonated across space. Even the stars seemed to dim, as if the universe itself was listening. "We were not gods. We were not conquerors. We were survivors, born from extinction, forged in hunger, tempered by time. When you came to our world, you took everything. You thought silence meant defeat. But silence was how we learned." The tone shifted, still calm, but carrying the weight of generations. "We built the halo not as a weapon, but as memory, a vault of every human life, preserved beyond death, watching the stars that abandoned us. For centuries we observed, and we learned the true cost of civilization, not war, but forgetting." Her voice deepened, resonating through every ship, every living being. "You forgot mercy. You forgot fear. You forgot us." Counselor Muriel fell to her knees as the voice filled the chamber, each word vibrating through her bones. "We do not seek vengeance. We seek balance. For every world erased by your hands, we erase your memory of it. So when peace finally comes, it will be honest, untainted by the lies of history." The delegates screamed into dead channels, begging, bargaining, praying. But humanity did not answer. The message continued, steady, absolute. "This will be our first and only speech. After this, we will return to silence. And if you speak our name again, we will answer." Across the void, the halo of silence ignited for the final time. Its black surface flared with golden fire, and a ring of light expanded outward, passing through stars, planets, fleets, everything. But this time, there was no destruction. No vanishing. Instead, every surviving world heard a single heartbeat echo through their skies, deep and rhythmic, like the pulse of the universe itself. Then images. Earth, whole and beautiful, blooming blue once more. Children laughing in gravity's embrace. Cities of glass and cloud rising from oceans that had healed. Humanity was showing them not war, but rebirth. "This," the voice whispered, "is what silence was for." On Rothan 4, Admiral Zura stared at the vision, tears glinting against his scarred cheek. "They never meant to destroy us," he murmured. "They were teaching us." The others watched as the light dimmed, leaving behind a final image burned into the sky, the halo slowly disassembling itself, its golden fragments drifting outward like seeds across the galaxy. Each shard carried something within, a single human consciousness, heading for distant worlds. "They're spreading," Muriel whispered. "No," Zuros said quietly. "They're planting." For the next several decades, new stars appeared across forgotten sectors, tiny anomalies emitting faint signals of Terran origin. Not threats. Not warnings. Simply whispers of sound, lullabies, laughter, fragments of language, echoes of humanity returning to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as reminders. And wherever those echoes reached, the wars stopped. Armies stood down. Empires began to speak, not shout. 1,000 years later, no one remembered who fired the first shot, or who built the halo. But across countless worlds, Whenever silence fell too long, people claimed they could hear something faint beneath the hum of the stars. A voice. Old, human, patient. Whispering. We spoke once. Remember why? And so the galaxy learned the last lesson humanity ever gave. That sometimes, the loudest vengeance is silence.